Hey guys, King of Charmanders, aka Guru here. Alright, so I had a friend, and one of my viewers on Twitch, they asked me, I hate this thing. It's so annoying. Okay, let's be real here. This thing is called the Wallface. This thing is roasted on a daily basis. Everyone hates it. When you see this thing, all it's going to do is throw a bunch of rocks at you, and you already know it's going to use Flamethrower. That or Stone Edge. A giant pillar from the ground is going to come and wreck shop, or it's going to turn up the heat and you're dead. That's basically what Bastiodon is. Also, did I mention it throws rocks at you? Yeah, it throws really big rocks and it just chucks it at you at 1,000 miles per hour. And somehow, this stuff actually comes from the ground and just like, it doesn't even have arms. So, like, the fact that it like throws stuff at it, yeah, the fact that it throws rocks at you is just, it's funny. It literally is, like you have no arms, so it's just like, where is this? It's just like literally like taking its teeth and just like spitting at you. So that's basically what Bastiodon is. Now, Bastiodon in Go Battle League, now that we're getting more serious here, it's actually not that bad. Because there's still a lot of flyers, there's plenty of Skarmory, plenty of Altaria still running around, and Bastiodon also isn't that much of a bad pick. There's a few things that we have to look out for, but Bastion overall, it's still you can still hate it because it's still not that bad. But I've seen like one or two during Great League, but let's get into the analysis. Bastiodon is not that I hate Bastiodon, but you know it's not that bad in Go Battle League. Alright, so we enter Bastiodon. Now, as you see here, Bastiodon is actually pretty cute. Like, I mean, it's evil when you face it, but when you use it, it's likely the tankiest mon in all of Great League. Other than like things like Dugong, it practically is. As you see, it has a redonkulous amount of defense. And if you have a perfect one, which I believe is around 12, 15, 15, those are the perfect IVs, it maxes out at level 40. So high level, maximum defense, as you see here, a maximum, like full on maximum freaking defense. Like, bro, like, can you get even more? Can you get even more defensive? Like, all defense, like like very minimal offense. 94 isn't that bad actually. Like, it still chucks rock at you, but yeah, it's Bastion. It's still Force Spear. As you see, you can only get it from a Shieldon. It's the thing about Bastion is that it has a high IV spread, so I believe 12, 15, 15 is the perfect, which means 12, 15, 15, you can get it from eggs, and the one that you hatch from eggs can actually be a rank 1. One of the ones I hatched, one I have, is actually rank 2. It's actually like 13, 15, 15, I believe, but it also maxes out at level 40, so it's pretty good since it maxes out. As you see here, it's a rock and steel type Pokemon. And because of that, to put it in a nutshell, when you punch it, it hurts a lot. You take double the damage because it's a rock and steel type from both fighting and ground. And there's a lot of fighting and ground. You know, that means Mud Boys are gonna go to town because all the ground does 256% of damage. It's also weak to water. And there's still a lot of fighters and pseudo fighters that hurt greatly. Because of that, even pseudo fighters like the Oxys D, if you can't, it like counter chunks. Even like fighters and pseudo fighters, like, yo, it hurts a lot. Especially if you get a power pump, like if you go up against someone that has power pump punch, like Scrafty or like Medicham, and it gets rolling, even Bastiodon with its ridiculous defense is not going to last very long. But it does have a very giant slew of resistances. As you see here, it resists poison, flying, normal, bug, dragon, fairy, ice, and psychic, and rock. Which means you resist Altaria, which means you resist Dragon Breath, which means you resist things like bug, which you really don't see a lot. But Charmers do fall prey to Bastiodon, as well as the typical flying types. Do I need to say more? The fact that it walls the crap out of, as you see, it walls Flyers to oblivion, 39% damage, and even normal types, because Rock and Steel both resist normal. And Poison, just don't try to bait. Just don't do it. If you're using Poison Fang against the Bastiodon, you're better off finding, yeah, just don't do it. Anyways, Bastiodon has a pretty much substandard moveset. As you see here, Smackdown is the preferred moveset. Smackdown is why Smackdown gives you stab. It gives you stab. It also has access as a charge move to Stone Edge, Flash Cannon, and Flamethrower. Now, Flash Cannon isn't bad. Flash Cannon actually, it has some use. Like, for example, if you do get the Mirror, Flash Cannon does neutral damage. But if you do get the Mirror, Flamethrower isn't bad either. And you get stabbed with Flash Cannon compared to Flamethrower. And it takes longer to get the Flash Cannon than Flamethrower. So it's really up to you. Stone Edge is it's pretty standard to run Stone Edge. Like, Stone Edge wrecks the crap out of Ice. And Stone Edge is just Stone Edge chunks. Like, Ice and Bugs just die. So if you see a Beedrill, it's going to hurt a lot if you hit it with Stone Edge. Well, just Smackdown in general hurts a lot. As you see here, the perfect IV chart, it's close to level 40, as I mentioned. The reason why the spreads, even if you have a perfect one, it's over 39 above. So as long as your attack is, like, I believe, like I said, 12, 15, 15 is your perfect stat for it. But anyways, it's an amazing, as it says here in the trainer comments, it's a great wall. It's basically the wall from hell. Smackdown hits a lot of Pokemon hard, and even if it's not, you're literally, if you have Shadow Victory Bell or Shadow Guard and you're using a Bastion Anthem, they will hit your life. It is literally the single Mon that will pretty much wall the Rock Paper Scissors, the RPS, which is the Rock Paper Scissors team, which is Shadow Victory Bell and Gardevoir, and the Fire Fang freaking Houndoom all get walled by this thing. Well, not really the Houndoom, but because Bastiodon has such a high defense stat, even Houndoom with Fire Fang won't chunk much. But as you see here, Bastiodon is a force to be reckoned with. And now we're gonna have to dive in a little bit into as far as uses for Season 3, because Season 3 has a lot of stuff that you're going to see and I have seen. Alright, so here's pvpoke.com. Again, if you would like to, please consider contributing. As a human being, Kakuna Matata is an amazing human being, and without his website, a lot of us wouldn't be able to do what we do. So please contribute to his website, amazing human being, and this website is absolutely wonderful. I wouldn't be able to do half my analysis if it wasn't for this website. So we're going to dive into the rankings for Great League Season 3, and we get Bastiodon, which ranks at number 13. As you see, Bastiodon still takes out a lot of the meta. I forgot to mention, you know that Cresselia you guys liked using, right? You know that grass on Cresselia, it gets walled. Well, not completely walled because, well, no, it gets, it gets pretty walled. As you see here, Bastion still has strong matchups against a lot of meta. As I mentioned, Flyers, all three of the big, I'd say the big Flyers, Altaria, Scarberry, Tropius, all die to it. Even if you tried Noctowl, Bastion would still tear through a stair hole through Noctowl. You beat a Alola Marowak, you beat a Alola Marowak, and you beat Cresselia. And it just wrecks shop. As you see here, Azumarill, as you see for its weaknesses though, this is why you have to be a little careful. Azumarill still does a lot of damage. Its key losses do include Azumarill, Deoxys D, which is ironic, because, like, Deoxys D, other than Thunderbolt, Rock Slide and Psycho Boost do get walled. And like I mentioned about Pseudo Fighters, because they're Pseudo Fighters, because of counter doing double damage, it's still, you can just straight up like counter down. I'll show you in a bit. You also lose against Registeel. Registeel will resist all of the smackdowns you throw at it. You have a chance to kill Registeel with Flamethrower. I'll show you in the sim as well. But as you see, Mud Boys are very strong against it, and so is Venusaur. As you see, Bastiodon as a lead ranks at number 118. I wouldn't use it as a lead. As a closer, it's number 20. If you need a giant wall for the back, it can be viable, but the keyword is can. We'll see it there. And as a switch, 391. Basically, don't use Bastiodon as a switch. Use it as a closer, keep it in the back, throw it into a flyer when they throw the flyer into you. That's basically what you want to use Bastiodon for. Don't lead with Bastiodon because Bastiodon won't give, don't lead with, just don't do it. Just do it. Keep Bastion as a closer, because Smackdown and Stone Edge and Flamethrower work best when your opponent has no shields. As you see here, best Pokemon with no shields. Now let's run a few sims. So, Bastiodon against all Flyers, I don't have to, Bastiodon against pretty much any Flyers. Remember I mentioned Noctowl? You have strong matchups against Tropius, Altaria, and Skarmory. But here's the thing, you pretty much, you just destroy it. There's Noctowl. You want to try to be spicy? You could try Zapdos. You can even try Zapdos, but Zapdos, it hurts. As you see here, Zapdos still gets trucked. And if you want to use the Shadow variant of Zapdos, don't even get me started with the Shadow variant, because, you know, some people are using Shadow Zapdos. Behold. Yes, they'll get trucked. So, don't try it. In all shield scenarios, the only thing Bastiodon really has to do is just smack you down. One smackdown does 15 damage. You know what that means? In 10 smackdowns, you are dead. Basically. In 10 smackdowns, you're dead. 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare to throw rocks at your face, or whatever you want to call it. But there's a reason why Bastiodon's called Wallface. This is exactly why. You literally truck through pretty much every single flyer in the game. Alolan Marowak, right here. Marowak, Fire Pokemon. Don't even get me started. If you're running Charizard with Blast Bird and Great League and Wing Attack, it doesn't freaking matter. You're going to die. Charizard, pretty much anything with a flying typing. Let's see, Golbat, and it doesn't matter. Yeah, Golbat, and then as you see here, Skarmory. Even if Skarmory had Flash Cannon with Sky Attack, you still lose against all shield scenarios. It's not that bad in the 2s, but that's assuming if you're up 2 shields, which there's gonna be very few. It's up 2 shields. As you hear, Flamethrower does a decent amount of damage against steals. Now basically, if you see Flyer's pretty dead. Like, Flyer's pretty dead. Some things you might see is also like Lapras. You might see Lapras, as you see here. We might see, like, Lapras. I've seen Laprases in Go Battle League, but Laprases fall prey, unfortunately, to Bastiodon unless you have a shield. You need a shield because of Surf. As you see, Lapras doesn't even live that long. If you do a little bit of chunk damage to Lapras, you can just pretty much smack down. So assume like you did a little bit of damage, and it's like at 150 for starting HP. Then if you run the sim, you pretty much just smack down. Well, with a Stone Edge, but as you see here, you pretty much, you'll beat Lapras. So when you go against Lapras, what you want to do is do a little bit of damage and then line it up with Bastiodon, because all you have to do is just like throw rocks at it. Because literally, you literally just throw rocks at it. That's Lapras. Dugong also fall prey to it. Dugong also goes down. Even if you do use Icy Wind, which you kind of don't want to because you want to go straight Water Pulse, you'll still lose. Even if you go straight Icy Wind, you still lose. Because the steel will resist your typing, so even if you just went straight Icy Wind and you try to like lower the attack, it still doesn't do anything. As you see, your Smackdown still do 7 damage, and you lose all shield scenarios, and Bastiodon is very escaped. At the end of it all, look, it still has 8 HP. So as you see, Bastiodon is very strong when you throw it in. It walls flyers, it takes out pretty much all of its ice, and that's what it is. Now, that's the strengths of Bastion. Ice types, like some popular ones, like I said, Lapras again, Lapras, Zapdos, and all other flyers, Bastiodon will kill you. That's Bastion's great strength. Now, that's Bastion's strengths. Now, here's Bastion weaknesses. When we're talking about Registeel, remember how Registeel has such a strong match against Bastion? That's because of Focus Blast. Focus Blast will do some heavy damage against the Bastiodon. As you see here, it almost wipes Bastiodon with the lock-ons. It practically wipes us. Now, as you see, Bastiodon will only win in the 2-shield scenario, and that's because you get the Flamethrower down. Because you block 2 Flash Cannons and then you Flamethrower down. So if you land a Flamethrower and Registeel is low enough, you might be able to win. But Registeel just charges so fast, and Focus Blast will destroy you, and it will wreck you very, very hard. That's Registeel. Now, I didn't mention this, but Marowak just gets trucked as well because Smackdowns. You can win. You can win having a shield. So Marowak can win with a shield barely, but that's because Bone Club does double damage. So as you see here, 2 or 3 3 Bone Clubs or more will just absolutely wreck Bastiodon. That's Alolan Marowak. Now, some of the things, Galarian Stunfisk, which is, you don't like regular Stunfisk, believe it or not, still has a pretty, it still chunks. Like Bastiodon will lose. As you see, it loses all shield scenarios. That's because Mud Bomb does so much damage. Mud Bomb takes out about 49, is about like 25% health. So Mud Bomb not only gets outpaced, but also because Mud Bomb does so much. And if it has the Mud Shot one, I believe, as you see, that's its matchup. I think it's even worse. Yeah, it's even worse. If it has Mud Shot, Mud Shot alone does a lot. It does a lot. As you see here, it does a lot. That's Stunfisk. Galarian Stunfisk. That's Stunfisk number 1. That's the pancake. Now, here is pancake. Metal pancakes. Your pancakes aren't supposed to taste like metal, by the way. Metal pancakes suck. As you see here, you lose all shield scenarios because Earthquake will just absolutely wreck shop. 1 Mud Shot does 3 damage. Along with that, Earthquake does a whole heaping 106. For 65 energy, Bastiodon will never get to a Flamethrower or a Flash Cannon or a Stone Edge, and you will die a horrible Earthquake. The ground you will get, yeah, you're grounded. You're totally grounded. That's basically what it is. You're grounded. You're so grounded. That's Galarian Stunfisk. Again, Deoxys defense. Now, even Deoxys defense, even if you're not rocking Thunderbolt, Deoxys defense still wins all Sealed scenarios because literally all you do is just get countered down. As you see, yeah, you literally, the counters. See, one counter itself does 6 damage. So all Deoxys D really has to do is punch you to death. Even assuming no shield scenarios, Deoxys D can still take a Stone Edge. As you see, 31 damage. It can still take a Stone Edge, but just these counters add up. Even if you're not carrying the Cycle Boost variant and you're carrying Rock Slide Thunderbolt, Deoxys D still does heavy damage. There is an interesting scenario here because Bastiodon can win the 2s, but that's only because of Rock Slide being resisted, as you see here. But as I said, Bastiodon still does heavy damage. If you get the Deoxys D, this is assuming like the no bait scenario, and they just straight up punch you. One counter does 6 damage. So it still does heavy damage as it goes through. And Rock Slides, as your opponent Rock Slides you down, it still does 15. So these add up a lot, even though they're double resisted. And if you, like I said, Scrafty, other fighters, you don't want fighters. You don't want fighters. 12 damage per counter, which means 10 counters will wreck shop. Power-up punches, if they do manage to bait your shields, as you see, these counters will do heavy damage when they're boosted. 2 power-up punches pretty much guarantees you're dead. Well, you're pretty dead. As you see here, you're dead. This includes even, let's say, you put it against Vigoroth. Behold. Now, you saw, like I said, in most scenarios, some scenarios you have a chance because of 2 shields, but like I said, that's very rare you're going to have 2-0. If you have yeah, it's very rare you'll have 2-0 against spammy teams, especially Bastion. Unless you just destroy everything and then like leave Bastion on the back with a particular mod. But as you see here, pseudo fighters and fighters are something you don't want Bastion to see. Also, things like Galarian Stunfisk, Galarian Stunfisk, you don't want it to see Galarian Stunfisk. Obstagoon holds a very interesting choice as well, because Obstagoon is something I highlighted. As you see here, Bastion still loses against Obstagoon because of counter and Night Slash. If it gets the boost, it's even worse. So, most pseudo fighters pretty much will, unless Bastion has a 2-0 advantage on shields, you're dead. It's like I said, Bastiodon isn't a bad mod. It still has plenty of things. It's still a great wall. As long as you can avoid the fighters and you lock it in with the correct matchups, Bastiodon will wreck shop and it'll just run you over. Now, for the team builder, if you do put Bastiodon in here, just put Bastiodon. There's definitely some like mods you can build around a Bastiodon team. Now, Bastiodon, as you see, incredible bulk and consistency. Now, now some things to pair with Bastiodon. Here's the big list that Bastiodon doesn't cover. Now, if you beat, now let's assume just put like an Azu in the back, and then let's do let's do Azu, and then let's put in a Machamp. Well, yeah, let's just put Machamp, and then rate the team. As you see here, you'll have great bulk and great consistency, mostly because of Bastiodon. And you beat a lot of great meta matchups, as you see here. Bastiodon is able to beat a lot of things. You beat Altaria, you beat Dugong, you beat Cresselia. Mantine, Umbreon, interestingly, I didn't cover that, but I'll go to it real quick. But as you see, you beat a bunch of different things. As Mudboys and Machamp, that's where you kind of want to be careful. Also, Meganium is something you want to be... Grass Pokemon you want to be careful against, like Bastiodon. I'll run a sim for Grass Pokemon real quick. Grass isn't that bad, especially since you have Flamethrower, but however, just be careful. Because Bastiodon versus Meganium, because Meganium's such a tank and it gains anything that if you get outpaced, Meganium wins a lot of matchups, as you see here. You only win pretty much up to shield because of Flamethrower, as you see here. Flamethrower does enough damage to where you just smack down and it's GG's, as you see in the end. But you barely live. You literally barely live. So just be careful. In the 2s, you still win because Meganium will just wreck shop. One Frenzy Plant alone does a lot of damage. If you take it to the 0s, Meganium just goes straight Earthquake. It does 96, and then Frenzy Plant does 38. So it still does a hefty amount of damage. Just be careful. But yeah, one Earthquake, as you see there, pretty much against any Meganium Earthquakes you, Galarian Stunfisk Earthquakes you, if a Sheptile Earthquakes you, it does a lot of damage. In fact, Sreptile still like almost practically nukes you, and you lose a lot of matchups against a Sreptile. Like I said, against grass Pokemon, be careful. Bastiodon is a very viable pick. However, be very careful. Like I said, in a lot of scenarios, if you're behind, you need multiple shields in order to come back from the match. Otherwise, you're just gonna smack your opponent down like Friday Night SmackDown. Alright, so here's our key takeaways. It's basically just keep Bastiodon away from Mud Boys and Fighters. If you can keep Bastiodon away from those two, and against pseudo counter uters, and against anything that can basically use fighting as a finishing move, like close combat, etc. Bastiodon's okay. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's pretty good. It's still pretty good. Preferably don't use it as a lead. The reason being is because the only reason Bastiodon, what I see nowadays, if you get locked, if you could take out like Altarias, because Altaria's still in the lead. Altarias and Skarmories will force a switch, and it's very strong against those choices if you encounter those. Otherwise, Bastiodon is going to have a very hard time outpacing many of the other Medias, such as Azumarill. You're definitely going to have a hard time outpacing Azumarill. Azumarill is one of them. Another one is Mud Boys. Mud Boys will almost always outpace you. Swampert with Mud Shot, Wishcash, Daddy Cash with Mud Shot will totally just wreck shop. And if you actually get like Mud Slapped variants, you don't want to see what Mud Slap does to a Bastiodon. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But so, with that being said, Basti's overall rating in Season 3 Great League is a 6 out of 10. It's not bad, but it's not the best either. Bastiodon is a great... It's still really good, don't get me wrong. Like I showed you, if you can lock it in against the right matchups, it's still really good, and it has a lot of value. But in some certain scenarios, you're going to need 2 shields to come back from the match. And it's very rare in Great League that unless you completely dominate your opponent and hard counter them, you won't have a 2 shield lead. So it's very, like Basti takes, like with any mod that, like Basti, where you use it as a wall, it takes skill to play. But it's a 6 out of 10. There's a reason why people hate Basti. It's because Basti still is a great mod. It will wall you hard. But like I said, there's a lot of things in this meta that, like, fighters are still there's a lot of fighters. And there's also a lot of ground. Galarian Stunfisk is wrecking shop. So, because of fighters, Galarian Stunfisk, it's not the greatest mod. But like I said, Bastion still has a lot of use. That's why it's rated a 6 out of 10. If there's anything you guys want me to analyze, please like and subscribe. If there's anything else you want me to see and take a look, like an analysis like this, go ahead and put it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you on my stream, PvP, and or at raids. Have a great day!